What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Seoul Therapy, the podcast. My name is Daniel.
Daytona.
Today, we will be reviewing two albums in EHI's first full length album under AOMG called For Only and Grand Line's MOHUM compilation album. As usual, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on all streaming platforms and don't forget to give us that 5-star rating. Also, for more contents, please go and follow our socials at soul_therapy. And also please support our page on Patreon at patreon.com/join/soul_therapy. Yeah, so just like last week, instead of one album review, we will be diving into two album reviews. And just like last week, we reviewed an R&B album, and this week we also wanted to focus on another R&B album, and that is EHI's For Only full-length album. And I must say, I think EHI found her home, after being, moved from YG now into more of an independent label in AOMG. I think this is her.
We have to word it correctly. Neglected by YG is more right.
Neglected. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I completely agree, and I think this is her
Fuck
true.
YG, man.
Yeah, it was a difficult times for her, I think, and I think her having transitioned over to AOMG, I think it's the perfect home because this album, what is it? There's a lot of depth and richness, and you can tell there's like 100% freedom control. There's no
it definitely shows.
there's no limitations on what she wants to do because this is her true color. I think this album is a demonstration as to who she really is as an artist, as a true R&B artist, because we got like a couple good stuff from, the YG label, but I think this is her true potential and this is her true colors in terms of being a solo artist, but also, wanting to become like that R&B artist, And so, this album is a really, really good start as an introduction as to her as being an artist, and it's 10 tracks. It's well put together, This was my highly anticipated R&B album this year. Like I was waiting for a full-length album from EHI, and I think she delivers. All the tracks were really good. My personal favorite tracks were Bye, Safety Zone, What Is Love, 머리 어깨 무릎 발, which features Weinstein. That's really good.
Head,
And-
shoulder, knee, foot for our
English.
English-speaking listeners.
Yeah.
That might kind of, what do you call it? That might sound weird, but for a little bit of context, that title is a Korean lullaby of sorts. It's like a child's play kind of, what do you call it?
It's a lullaby.
It's a game that children play. It's like
Yeah.
a little bit of a what's 동요 in English?
Nursery rhyme? Nursery?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't getting there. I was getting there. Nursery rhyme kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like the tune goes like 머리 어깨 무릎 발, and I think it doesn't necessarily sound like it, but it's a play on those words. Yeah.
And the songs are also produced by PJ, Gray, Dax, Code Kunz, Anshine, Stally, Basecamp, Chancellor, Purple, Kokona, Bronze, and EHI herself also helped out in the producing department. And so, man, all these songs were like really good. I don't really have any big complaints, nor should I have any big complaints, because I think this is what she wants, and I think she delivered on all the songs. I don't know about you.
I think this is way better than her last albums. Like
For sure,
One thing that surprised me about this album was it was really kind of stripped back. Like this isn't overproduced. Like this is a very acoustic, or if it's not acoustic, it has a very kind of minimal approach to production and stuff.
For sure.
Like the first like track number 2 and 3 are just basically like almost everything's like a single acoustic guitar and a little bit of a drum beat, And what do you call it? I think her lyrics are more not explicit, but more descriptive in a sense. Like Before this album, it sounded like someone was forcing her to write the lyrics for like to as a kind of common denominator kind of thing, you know,
Hmm.
make the lyrics that anyone can listen to and anyone can relate to.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not a big fan of that because that's what homogenizes music, you know?
for sure.
And
Yeah.
yeah, not only production and sounds, but having such simple lyrics all the time is not
Hmm.
always a great thing. And
No, yeah.
since Lehigh is very vocally talented,
Hmm.
I wanted her to sing stuff with more substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, granted, this is not like I'm not saying like like Lehigh's socially conscious on this or something, but at
No,
least when it comes to like the topic of love, I wanted some poetics, like poetic stuff, you know.
it's definitely more authentic, I can
Yeah,
say.
it's more what do you call it?
It's
I
more
mean, I know it's
organic
more
too.
authentic. Yeah, more. I know it's more authentic, but that's not exactly the word I'm looking for. I'm
Mm.
trying to find it. A little bit more detailed in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah,
it's
this
detailed.
isn't. Yeah, and this isn't like approaching things like, oh, I gotta write a breakup song. This is more like, I have a specific breakup in my mind, and I think this is what I felt and how it went through. Like
Yeah.
the focus is more razor sharp on this album, and I like
Hmm.
that. Like especially with Korean K-pop idols, a lot of the times they are kind of under what do you call it, a strict sense of schedules and stuff,
Yeah,
like,
man.
and their lives being kind of under regulated by
I
and
really
stuff like
dislike
that.
that. I really dislike
Yeah,
that.
and although YG is comparatively free of that,
Yeah,
um, you
to a
would be
certain extent,
lying if there must have been something, because it
for
is
sure.
after all a K-pop industry. So
Hmm.
I think this sounds way more free in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot more freedom, 100% freedom
Hmm.
control. You don't have anybody holding any bars. It's whatever that's in her creative mind. I think she delivered on that.
Yeah,
You could
exactly.
truly hear
Mm.
a lot of differences from this album to her previous work. And I mean a lot of differences. You don't hear
Hmm.
any, sugar coated, contents that is
I mean,
for,
granted, it is a sugary album, although
yeah,
what
for
do you
sure.
call it?
It's just not
Um,
like the typical, oh,
yeah.
the general
Ah,
audiences. This is for
yeah.
like a
There's
real,
this kind of more of a dive into her persona than ever, I think.
for sure. I think this is her story. I think she's definitely giving us a story of her life,
Hmm.
and just whether it's good or the bad. Truly think this album is an introduction and
Mm.
kind of a statement album as to just
Mm.
the things that she went through, but also looking forward to the future kind of album.
Yeah. Another thing is her features here.
Yo, I
Like,
was gonna say.
yeah, these aren't. There are only 3 features out of 10 tracks, so
Hmm.
that's about enough.
Yeah.
That's the number I want. If you have a 10 track album, I want no more than 3 features, and she
Yeah.
just had 3 features, which is great. Uh, One thing interesting is there's a BI feature in the track
Yeah.
number 1.
Hmm.
Actually, I'm looking at
Savior.
the credits now, and it's written by BI as well.
Oh
Lehigh
wow.
didn't write the lyrics to this, and it kind of shows.
Hmm.
Savior, like that's kind of heavy, like religious kind of wording,
Yeah,
not something Lehigh would have used,
for sure.
and it kind of shows. And another interesting thing is Bi is also kind of, um he was another individual that's kind of thrown away by YG, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, he had his own scandal regarding drugs and stuff. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think it was marijuana though. I'm not sure. Anyway, so Bi is in another entertainment company right
Hmm.
now, and it's, in a sense, it's like a former YG reunion kind of going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of it was a very fresh start. Like
Yeah.
it's just with the title. Like I looked at the title and it says Savior, huh? This isn't exactly Lehigh's kind of way of writing songs,
Yeah.
because as much as talented she is, I never heard her write with such a heavy imagery in a sense.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was an interesting start, and I think that's kind of what got me, I kind of, maybe this is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And track number 2, which is another track I really like the title says 그대의 이도.
Yeah.
What's it in English?
It says
Your
intentions. Yeah.
Yeah, 의도 means intentions, and 그대 means it's a very formal way of saying you. Like 너 is informal. 그대 is kind of like posh, So the title is like a song out of the fucking 80s or something. Like the Korean 80s.
Yeah.
Like not even the 80s, like 70s. It's
like city
60s.
pop. It's like almost like city pop style.
Yeah, but I'm talking explicitly about the title here. It's like this kind of title is like it's like a serious throwback, like
for sure,
like kind of thing. Yeah. So that's another weird title. All right, we're doing something weird here, and that's just the title speaking. But it was a very stripped back kind of guitar ballad, and not ballad, a singer-songwriter kind of record, I guess.
Yeah.
It was great, and she played a lot with titles here, and it kind of lived up to the hype. Like
for sure, yeah.
I mean, with all of it in mind, it didn't do as well on the charts as it should have. I think, because Lehigh normally would have been the name that's killing the charts by now. But
I feel like this album wasn't meant for the charts, even though she's a big time artist. That's just how I
think she just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think
that's great. I need more people doing that.
For sure.
Yeah, it's 12, I think. 50. I don't know exactly how to look at this. It entered at I think it entered at 50 and went out at 21 or something. So it's basically like it's nowhere near the top 10 is what I'm saying.
No, yeah,
on Bugs it did, but Melon is basically the biggest streaming service here. So
yeah, I think
it went number 2 on Genie though.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this album is definitely just what she wants to showcase. I don't think there was a specific goal or achievement, but rather just putting out a really good, organic, well put together album. And when I saw one of the producers, when I saw PJ's name on it, I was like, yes. I love PJ as a producer. I think he's one of the most, not just iconic, but just he's just so.
He's forward thinking, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just he's so creative with the way he structures his beats. It's very organic. I just it's organic, but it's also real in a sense. I think he takes his time in creating these really simple, minimal beats, but it works, of course it comes with a lot of experience that he's had, but I think
there's an edge to it in a sense. Like he takes the warmest sources and sound and he creates a weird way to kind of a little bit of a twist on it. This isn't like your typical jazz beat. Like
no, definitely not.
But the sources are jazz, but it has a very kind of he twists it. Like the way he arranges his beats is like something's off, but it's in a good way,
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere like electronic jazz and kind of shit. Yeah,
that's the thing. When you just mentioned electronic jazz stuff, he's not afraid to try, things that maybe won't go quite as well as together. But it's PJ, you're gonna get something that's original, swing for the fences type beats.
Exactly.
And I was just so surprised how this beat really worked with Ehai's voice and then featuring Weinstein. I thought Weinstein and Ehai was the perfect pairing. Like they both had kind of
not
like
exactly with Lehigh though. Like
oh, you really? Okay.
Like no, because I didn't expect this collab at all. What I did expect was Weinstein's on a PJ beat. Like this is gonna make sense. What kind of thing was what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like Yeah, I did not see them two kind of working together. It just never occurred to me. And then I looked at the production of the track, and it's like,
Mhm.
PJ, now it makes sense, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
so
it's kind
that
of like a
actually makes sense.
it's kind of like the perfect trifecta. You know, you kind of have two person and
Yeah,
then you
it's
add the third person in, and it becomes like this really
mhm,
overall quality song. And
yeah.
man, I really
I
loved
mean,
all the tracks.
yeah, like Big Naughty had a track on his EP that was produced by PJ, and Weinstein
Exactly.
killed that beat when he was featured on it
Exactly.
too. So I was like, huh, maybe this is what we're going for. And since I'm looking at the credits now, and it says Lehigh and Weinstein, it might
Yeah.
have been. This is completely speculation. It might actually have been Weinstein's song originally. And then yeah, I
That
heard
could
it,
be
and then, can I use this for this album? Like that, I can see that going on.
that could be the
Since
case.
Weinstein and PJ connected so such a long time ago, so this is great. This is by all means, it's a good album. I really
Yeah,
think it is. It's
for
just
sure.
not. Yes, this is far from perfect though.
Mm.
In my humble opinions, please don't shit on my comments or anything.
No, man, don't worry about
Yeah.
that.
Please. I have traumatic experiences when it comes to the higher music fandom.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, but please don't kill me. I like this album. I seriously think it's a great thing. I just have to point things out so as to maintain a little bit of integrity here. The production, I won't say it's like completely same old, but I think she could have tried riskier stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I
Um,
can see that.
yeah, because I really want Lehigh to kind of branch out, like
Mm.
because like her voice and the way she sings and everything, especially when I heard her on Coco's albums, like
Yeah,
she is capable of eating up all sorts of production.
for
And
sure.
um like when it comes to like, I'm not like, now this might be a little bit of a dangerous thing to say, but one of the best pop albums of this decade in my opinion is Beyonce's Lemonade.
Mm.
And one of the reasons that album is great is because the production is incredibly varied. Like
Yeah.
all sorts of shit, like producers threw everything at her and Beyonce killed it.
Yeah.
Now people call that album Beyonce's magnum opus, Like
Mhm.
that kind of risky variety. And if there's one person in the Korean R&B scene that can actually pull that off, that's Lehigh.
For sure.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, she can kill a rock beat if she wants to. Like she can kill a like amped up soul sample beat if someone threw it at her.
Mhm.
Like from the most ambient stuff to the most hard hitting stuff, she can do it.
For sure.
I trust in Lehigh like in that like that much. And although if she doesn't want to do it, that's not my one, like that's not what I want to say about, like that's not my place to like say you need to do this or anything, but I just see her not quite making the magnum opus she has in her yet.
Mm.
She can try way riskier stuff than this, like,
Yeah,
and
I can see. I
in
think,
that
like I said, it's
sense.
this is like an introduction album, and so I'm
But
sure
then
there.
again, this might not be on her. This might be more
Yeah.
on maybe she needs to link up with riskier producers. I'm not saying like these beat makers were bad. I think when it comes to credits, I think she had something specific going on. Like she
Mm.
wanted something. Like, and even though it might kind of sacrifice consistency within an album, I think
Mhm.
she's talented enough to pull even riskier stuff off.
For
And
sure.
yeah, and I think that will be like the classic that I'm keep waiting for in a
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
But one great thing about this album in the end is this has way more focus than her previous works.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
this is like a giant step in the right direction.
Mhm.
So no complaints here. This is a great album. Download all the songs if you can. Yeah, please download, and or if she releases physicals, please buy it.
Mhm.
That's a way to support the artist.
For
Although
sure.
at this point I'm pretty sure Lei is good to go when it comes to bank accounts, but um, since she moved away from YG,
Yeah.
she doesn't. I mean, AOMG is a great company too. I
Yeah.
have no doubt about that. But her machine became a lot smaller. You have to recognize that.
Yeah.
So support her. Like, really do support her.
For sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
great album. Like we both agreed. And the next album we're reviewing is the hip hop album, and this time it's the compilation album. And the one that kind of
Grand
surprised me a
Line.
bit, yeah, Grand Line
Mm.
compilation album called MOHUM, which is English translation is like treasure.
No, Adventure.
Adventure, okay.
Mm.
And yeah, for those who aren't too familiar, Grand Line is a label who is it actually ran by? Because I know James is kind of co-leading it right now, but who's the actual
No.
or
There was an entity called Warman.
okay.
Warman has a very weird career. He was actually a StarCraft pro gamer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But then he decided to go to art college and graduated and became a hip hop artist.
Oh, sick.
And no, he was a part of the Overclass crew, if I'm not wrong. Like
Okay.
he was in Overclass, which is led by Verbal Gent, and he has a spot. Most of the people know for his features on Verbal Gent albums. Like even the classic Accusations album, there's a feature on Warman, and Warman leaded this label.
Yeah.
But recently he gave the spot to
right.
James because
Okay.
he wanted to make a newer label.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that label is or even if it's made up, like if it's ready to go right now. But Warman was the leader for Grand Line for a long time, and now he gave he kind of made James take his spot because he's
Okay.
moving on.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. Okay. So yeah, so James is currently taking over, and the members there are Hotchkiss, James, of course, Louis of Geeks, Linus
Mhm.
Blanket, who's a producer, Mac Daddy, Polik, Sky Minyuk, Stella Jang, UGE, and Geeks.
Mhm.
So this is a compilation album with 15 tracks. This definitely gave me a summer tone to it. The album is an official introduction to the Grand Line label, even though they've been there for a while. I think this is kind of like a fresh new start for them, kind of a new introduction to them.
Yeah, there has been like some turbulence within Grand Line. Not saying like it was on the verge of like collapsing
course,
or
yeah.
anything, but most K hip hop fans know this label because this was the label that used to house Take One and Lil Boy.
Yes.
Lil Boy is still sort of in
Because
Grand
of
Line
Geeks.
because he is like the group Geeks is still signed to Grand Line,
Exactly.
but him as a solo artist is not. But also James was a huge presence in the scene too. So people were, and Mac Daddy is in here as well. And so when it comes to like presence within the K hip hop scene, when we're talking strictly hip hop, usually people think of James or Mac Daddy right now. And this label also used to host Doxer back in the day, which is one of the most edgiest producers out there right now. And although he's not in here, and Jay Kidman used to be in Grand Line as well. And Jay Kidman is basically God at this point because of the work he did with C-Jam on the album Kung. Yeah, because Jay Kidman is a god right now. And so this leaves the James kind of really in kind of a tough spot.
Yeah.
Not because the label has no talent or anything, but so much has changed since the Warman
For sure.
resigned in a sense. So you have to take this new talent and the old talent that the label still has and merge them together and make sure that they have some sort of presence in the scene again. And I think this compilation album was an effort to do that.
For sure.
Especially with like James and I think Sky Minyuk going on Show Me the Money 10, if I'm not wrong. Hotchkiss is going there as well.
What? Okay.
Yeah, but one thing surprising, let's start talking about the album now. Hotchkiss was the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was this weird, gimmicky, kawaii kind of Japanese manga type weird character that I wasn't sure how to like. What the fuck is this
Hmm.
guy? Like, kind of dude. Like, why are you talking about? Like, why are you rapping that
Mm.
way on a hip hop competition kind of thing? But ever since like he put out his Jiwon Yongsang, what's that in
Hmm.
application for Show Me the Money 10, like dude came back with a hard ass style.
Yeah.
Like he's rapping, kind of rapping. Like what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Like this is a complete 180. Like he sounded gangster as fuck. I mean, he doesn't He doesn't look gangster, of course. But when you listen to him rapping, it's like, damn, who is
I
this
totally
guy? Like,
forgot.
what
I totally
happened?
forgot that was Hotchkiss in the compilation album. I was like, who is this other guy, dude? Like, this dude isn't.
Yeah, and this
I was like,
like,
am I like.
why are you rapping so
That's what I'm
hard?
saying.
Why? Yeah, like, where's this Korean 5-year foreign coming from?
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. I was like,
holy shit!
like,
Like,
is this?
he's rapping his ass off.
I
on
saw
this. Yeah.
the credits. I said I saw Hotchkiss. I was like, huh? This is Hotchkiss's verse? Nah, don't stop playing with me. You probably had somebody else rap. But dang, dude, I was.
No, I'm not sure if I don't think someone else wrote for this either.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Because
He was the standout. I agree,
look,
man. He's insane.
like, when it comes like if Hotchkiss was a singer
Hmm.
or an R&B
Hmm.
artist, that's very
Yeah,
plausible.
for sure.
But the Korean rap scene doesn't allow ghostwriting yet.
Yeah.
Like, y'all have your Dr. Dre's, Drake's, and Kanye West's. That shit is not allowed in here yet. Like, ghostwriting is bad for you here. Like, if someone like outed you for ghostwriting, your career in the scene is done. That's one thing I'm really proud of the Korean hip hop scene. No one can
That's
ghostwrite.
true.
That's fucking bullshit. And considering that's how this game is playing, I don't think someone wrote lyrics for Hotchkiss
No,
at
I
all.
hope not. I hope
I mean,
not.
the only person that's that gets off of ghostwriting is Jesse. Like, people ghostwrite for Jesse, and everyone knows that. But that's because she's more of the pop persona rather than a like hip hop kind of artist. So unless like it's Jesse or like Psy who sing Gangnam Style, like unless you're that kind of artist, like if you're seriously in a hip hop label, like ghostwriting is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Like a serious no-no. And considering that, I think he really switched up this style and he really began to rhyme his ass off.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
his writing is, oh man, it was great. Not poetic or something. It's not poetic or anything like that, but really he knows how to place his rhymes and kind of drive off of flows off of that, and it's great to hear it.
Yeah, he went nuts in this album,
Yeah,
dude. And
like, what the fuck happened? I still don't get it.
yeah, every time I listen to a Grand Line song and I listen to a
Mm.
song that has Hotchkiss in it, I'm just like, dude, there's just no way this is him. The guy that I knew from High School Rapper,
Yeah, that dude's gone. I think he
I'm
killed
just
him.
like, wow, good for you, man. The way you've
Like
improved.
this, yeah,
It's
exactly. Like
all the tracks in here
this
was
is the
insane though.
yeah, like this is the definition of killing your past persona.
For sure.
Like this is exactly what he did. Like even in this, even in the application, like YouTube thing where you apply, like he looked, even though like his settings all different, like and stuff like that. So that was great. If we keep talking about this album,
Dude, there's a track.
Louis.
Oh, Louis was surprising. Louis was surprising too. Yeah, he was surprising.
Yeah, Louis never rapped like this. I mean, there were instances, but it was usually within geeks. So this was not his target. But one thing I'm kind of impressed by, because Louis didn't show up a lot in this album. I mean, every time he showed up, he killed it. But surprisingly, he's not on many songs. I expected him to be on more songs.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna have more stuff in here, but
isn't there like 3 or something?
it might be around
out
4.
of like 15.
It might be around like 4, maybe. Yeah.
Let's count. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, 4.
5 actually, huh? The intro as well.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, dude. Great album.
Then he did his job. Like he really showed up. Like like Louis was the person who kind of suffered from the big boy syndrome. Like everyone was talking about Andre, but not enough about Big Boy. When Big Boy is just as capable as a rapper he is, like Andre is. Like I'm not saying this out of like political correctness.
Of course.
Like if you really genuinely believe that Big Boy is a talentless fuck compared to Andre 3000, I don't have any business talking to you. You don't know hip hop. Big Boy is a great rapper.
For sure.
He's a fucking great ass rapper. And that's And plenty of times in the Outkast discography, Big Boy outclassed Andre. If you don't believe that, you need to listen to it again. Anyway. And a lot of like when people talk about Lil Boy, they don't talk a lot about Louis. And that kind of frustrated me for a long time because Louis is a really capable rapper. Like he's a great rapper. He just doesn't make solo records that much, which is
it's a shame.
Yeah, he needs to. And man, you showed up. That's all I care about. Like he killed it. There wasn't a single member on this that really irritated me. I expected Hotchkiss and Sky Minyak to be fucking trolls. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Their output before this album wasn't great. I mean, not Sky Minyak. Like Sky Minyak before and after Grand Line is totally different creatures as well. I mean, Hotchkiss, like the persona was changed for Hotchkiss, so that was not a problem after like the first time I heard it on this compilation album. That's like, all right, he knows what he's doing now. I was worried about Sky Minyak.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
like, man, this dude, I like the dude. Like, dude seems like a great person. But man, I just couldn't stand his style of rapping because it wasn't mostly rapping at all. It was just shouting in the mic. And like, oh, what was Warman thinking signing this guy was my initial reaction. But he really improved.
He really did.
Yeah, I almost feel sorry for him. Maybe like when Show Me the Money, like he wasn't at his best condition or something. And his recent album wasn't that bad either. I mean, there's still a certain amateurism to his flows and stuff like that, but at least he's like, he's on beat. He's finally on tempo. And he kind of made his kind of very straightforward style not a detriment, but into something positive. Like, with this album, like when you have like spitters all over this album, like because Louis completely switched up his style here because he was spitting his ass off. Jamez was the only kind of guy that's actually kind of in and out, like wavy sometimes, spitting sometimes. Mac Daddy was straight on the hooks or just straight spitting. Hotchkiss was spitting. Park Juno, like Pulik was like spitting. So you needed some kind of dude that's kind of anchor it all down. Like, for example, like what would be a good narrative? All right. Let me trigger some Eminem fans here. I didn't like. I'm sorry about getting out so many like American mainstream kind of analogies, but really that's the best way to explain this. You know, Eminem has a group called D12.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and they're made up of spitters. Not D12. I'm talking about Slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah, that's another really good.
Yeah,
group.
Joel Ortiz, like, and Forever Toxic Joe Budden and stuff like that. And they're all spitters, right? They never made a good album. Let me trigger the Slaughterhouse fans out there. As an album, their projects always fucking failed. They never put out a good album. They made good songs from time to time, and they were all great rappers, and they left many great verses, but they never made a great album. And the reason I think is because their albums really kind of were just a bunch of beats and people spitting all over the mic.
Oh. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They weren't making good songs. They were just making great verses.
Okay.
And I think without Sky Minhyuk or Mac Daddy on the hooks, on a lot of these tracks, I think that might have become a
Mhm.
problem. But since you have these more not laid back, but more straightforward and hard nosed MCs in the middle of all these like spitters, it really puts out a great
Mhm.
balance, you know. And like for example, there was a track with James and Sky Binyak. What was the exact
Pado
track?
Waves.
Let me. Though there was like flow, like let me flow kind of thing. What was that? I think it was Pado. Yeah, it was
Pado was a
Pado.
great song.
Yeah, it means
Mhm.
wave in English. And James was all over
Yeah,
that
he really
track. Like he
was.
was switching his
Yeah.
flows up all the time. And which is great, but without Sky Minhyuk, that track could have just kind of fallen
Mhm.
apart, like with no
Mhm.
structure. But since Sky Minhyuk is there and it gave kind of room for James to breathe, and that hook I think was possible because Sky Minhyuk was in there, like that chant
Mhm.
kind of war chant kind of hook, and which was great. So Sky Minhyuk really surprised me as
Mhm.
well because a lot of these songs make sense because of him.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
usually when I saw Sky Minhyuk in the credits, I'm like, oh man, he's gonna ruin this
Yeah.
song. But he did a 180 on here as well.
For sure. Yeah. He was
So
a big surprise
yeah,
to this album, I think.
yeah,
I think, like you said, I had similar concerns just in terms of just, oh
mm,
man, what if the quality of the song goes down because of this artist? But don't judge a book by its cover, you
mm.
know? And
Yeah, it really was. It served me right. This album kind of served me right. Yeah.
exactly. And to me, one of my favorite tracks, or at least the surprising track, was the outro, the ending, which is Hago
Mm-hmm.
싶은 말. And this one
Mm,
included Stella Jung in it. And I really like her as an artist. I think she's one of the more underrated
mm,
singers, you know? And
mm,
I thought this was a really good track for the end where I kind of got emotional in a way because there's surprisingly Sky Minhyuk said a line in the song where he talked about like 수고했어, like you did well,
mm.
and I just felt like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is like a heartfelt song, and it's a good way to kind of
Mm,
close out the album because the album there was a lot
yeah.
of hard hitting verses and you know like trap
Yeah.
songs
They were really like not just trap, like they were
and there was
like stupidly like hard drums on this. Like on the like there was a track called
oh
Prove,
yeah,
which has
oh
just
yeah,
yeah, that's
it
like
had a rock
the orcish horde kind of coming from hell
it
kind of
had a
drums.
rock type beat, but it wasn't too
It wasn't even rock. It was like African polyrhythms,
oh
but
interesting,
like war drums kind of
yeah,
thing. You know, everyone knows Kanye West Black Skinhead,
oh
right?
yeah, classic,
Yeah, bum
mm-hmm.
bum bum bum, and then the drums like bum 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 bum, bum
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like that, like
yeah,
all sorts of production are in
for
this.
sure. Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
definitely a good way to kind of close out the album. I definitely love the message, and yeah, man, there was really no complaints, you know, because this album really
mm,
surprised me in so many different ways. Because you know, we kind of talked
mm,
about a refreshing start, a new start for Grand Line. You know, how are they gonna move into a new take, and how is James going to handle a new situation? And so I think this was a really
yeah,
good way to start their new chapter in Grand Line. And I gotta say, dude, I want to give a shout out to the producer Kim Tae-san. Dude, this dude,
yeah.
holy cow,
He produced a lot of this
he produced some of the most grimiest, the most like darkest, hard hitting beats and
in your
in your
face
face.
kind
And
of beats.
there's a
Yeah,
track called Grand Line Savage Freestyle. Oh my goodness, bro.
mm.
This literally reminds
Yeah, that was
This beat
crazy.
reminds me of the Beat Miners when they produced Black Moon's Enter the Stage. Like this,
Yeah, yeah, that I
oh
can see
my
that.
goodness.
Yeah.
In an album that has a lot of summer tones into it, like this is like smack dab
Mm.
right in the middle, in your face, like just we need to come up with a
Like they were all
aggressive song.
going off. This was like a 7-minute cipher,
Dude,
right?
yeah, it was a lengthy
Yeah,
song,
like,
but
dude, they're going off like
it
shit.
worked, bro. Like it was such a good track, and Hotchkiss and Sky Minhyuk just went crazy in that song.
I mean, like I'm if I'm remembering this correctly, I think this is the track where James finishes his verse and just goes in the background, like tells Hotchkiss to go
Oh
and
yeah,
kill it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
like,
It's that one.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
this
it's
track,
that
right?
one.
Yeah, it was like so hype. Like, god damn, it's been a while since I heard the track like this on an album.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, and that kind of James, like James kills his
for
verse and
sure.
then tells Hotchkiss to go kill it on the beat, and it's like, damn, this is the kind of hypeness I haven't seen in such a
Yeah,
long
dude,
time. No one does
for
this anymore.
sure.
And then Hotchkiss steps to the mic and kills everything, and I'm like, like this is the stuff, like this is like Wu-Tang Clan-ish in a say,
This
you
is what
know?
we're looking for, man. This is what we're looking
Yeah,
for.
and I'm a huge fan of the Wu-Tang
Oh
Clan
yeah,
and this
same
kind
here.
of stuff, and like, this reminds me so much of Wu-Tang
For
Clan, and
sure.
not the beat like itself is like not RZA-ish at all, but with the whole like everyone stepping up to trying to kill,
Yeah.
like outperform each other and stuff like that, and that hype
Yeah.
energy, like this reminds us so much of that Wu-Tang kind of energy, and I'm like, yes, where was this all this time?
That's what I'm
Like,
saying, bro. It's
I mean, even like the Show Me the Money producers on Decipher, the beat is all
Yeah.
different, right? So it's just like listening to 4 songs in a
Mm-hmm.
row, like 4 snippets in a row. You don't see like all of them attack the same beat with a different
Yeah.
style, which is really what I miss about producer
Mhm.
freestyles and stuff like that. That's one thing that Show Me the Money 6 really did good, because except like for the Zico Dean
Mhm.
kind of like verse in the first part, all of the rest, six MCs attacked the same
Mhm.
beat, and it was it really felt like a competition, but a collaboration at the same time. I want that kind of energy,
sure.
and I got it off
Yeah.
of this. Yeah, so that was fucking amazing. And like, since we talked all the good stuff about
Mhm.
this album, again, I have to talk about
The flaws.
the drawbacks. Yeah, there are faults, but this is not a perfect album
for
either.
sure.
This could have used some cutbacks.
Yeah.
Like, not because the tracks were bad or something, but 15 tracks with like 5 rappers on each
It's a lot.
song is kind of tiring.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest.
It's a lot, and not a lot of people managed to pull this off. There are 3 legendary compilation albums when it comes to Korean
Mhm.
hip hop. These 3 compilation albums, no one can touch. Like, this is the holy grail of compilation albums. Number 1 is the Illionaire
Of
1111,
course.
but that had only like 3 rappers on the mic, so let's take that out of discussion. The other 2 is Just Music's Ripple Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is
Yep.
legend. That shit is a classic. And the other is Highlights High Life. Highlight
Yeah,
Records. Back in the
wow, I
days
haven't-
when Be Free and the cohort was
Man,
still rocking
I haven't
with
heard that one
Highlight
in a
Records.
while.
You haven't
No,
heard
no,
that
in a
one?
while.
What the fuck are
No,
you doing?
I haven't heard it in a while.
Go ahead and listen to it right
I
now.
haven't heard it in a while. I've heard it. I haven't heard it in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. I forgive you. But like these 3 albums, and taking the Illionaire album out of equation, like the great thing about these 2 albums is not just the production and the way it's sequenced and just how the album is made and production and everything, but the reason why this compilation album was such a fucking hit was that everyone involved had such different
Yeah.
styles.
For sure.
Now, granted, all of them can fucking rap on this Grand Line album, but you have to also acknowledge that it kind of blends in after a while, in a sense. Pulik, yeah, Pulik is a great rapper, but I have to say, just his style didn't stick out here. Especially like there's a similar, like he and Hotchkiss kind of occupied the same space in my opinion. And I think Mac Daddy's songwriting talents were not in front. He was more used for a simple bridge or some
Or the
verses.
choruses.
Yeah, and as much as all of these beats were quality and there were very bold
Mm-hmm.
experiments, when it comes to the beats that weren't very
Mm-hmm.
experimental or like something really weird in its sample
Mm-hmm.
source or something, some of these kind of pale in comparison to the others.
Yeah.
Not saying like they were
Mm-hmm.
terrible songs, but you could have kind of weeded it somehow. If this was like a 10 track or 11 track album, I think it would have been more
Yeah.
effective. And
Some of the songs were like filler songs. He just kind of just threw it in there.
yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
need the interlude. Despite Hotchkiss doing actually a pretty good job of being melodical on it, I don't think it was a great track compared
Mm-hmm.
to the others. Um as much as I like the outro and
Mm-hmm.
intro, I think it could have been melded into other songs,
Okay.
I guess. There was no reason or purpose. Yeah, I think it would have been more epic, not reason or purpose, but I think it would have been more epic if the track 1 and 2 was the same
Oh,
track.
combined or something, or somehow like blended
Yeah,
together.
it
Yeah,
would have it would have served as a great
for sure.
intro. Like it would, yeah, and low and flow, I kind of have no idea what they were thinking with
Yeah,
that.
it's probably just a simple whatever kind of like fill in songs.
It was a
Yeah.
gimmick, but it was a gimmick, and I'm not saying it was corny or anything, but I don't know if they actually
Uh
needed
huh.
it. Yeah, so I mean, there are some problems with being a bit bloated,
Yeah.
and some ideas, despite great ideas that this album has, some ideas were kind of used again and
Yeah.
again.
I can see that.
But overall, like a lot of compilation albums after those three I've been talking about were
Hmm.
failures.
Yeah.
VMC's album wasn't great either.
It's decent. It was all right.
Yeah, you think it's all right. I think it actually
Okay.
worse than that. The Make It Rain Public Enemy compilation, I really didn't
Mm.
like. They were capable of way more than that. Yeah, and I think I remember a couple others, and they weren't that great either. So this was actually a well thought out and has some innovative kind of production
Yeah,
on this. I think really Jamez tried to like Jamez is not exactly a in the box type of
for sure.
artist. You don't know, like he's like a fucking tennis ball. You don't know where it's going to go
Mm.
next, and I think it kind of showed up in this album as well.
Hmm.
But since this is an album that has multiple artists, like multiple
Hmm.
artists in the rain, I think Jamez couldn't quite like Jamez is all over the place, but since his voice is so unique and the way he
Hmm.
flows is so he has a trademark flow. So it kind of whatever he did within an album sequence, it all kind of made
Hmm.
sense.
For sure.
But since Jamez isn't the only person rapping on this, I think he had a lot of ideas, but he couldn't quite nail it and polish it
Mm.
enough. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So my final verdict of this album is that this has amazing
For
moments in
sure.
it. Like the highs are really high. Like what the fuck
Yeah.
kind of high? But while there were not exactly lows, without the highs, it's kind of like average.
Okay.
There are a lot of average
For
tracks
sure.
on this. It wasn't, yeah. So just for like but there's still many highs
Yeah.
though. So definitely worth your time.
Definitely.
Just don't go into it like expecting ripple effect or high life or 1111 kind of
Yeah.
greatness.
It
That's
it's
what I'm
a
saying.
solid
Yeah.
compilation album, and I'm just really excited for where Grand Line is
Mm,
gonna go in their next chapter, especially with Hotchkiss and Sky
mm,
Minyak slowly developing into the artists that we hope and expect them to
mm.
be. So yeah, as we begin to slowly wrap up our show, as usual, any artist or tracks that you're currently listening to and would like to share or recommend to our listeners? Oh, for me, I went with Lil Boys, and the song is called "Go,"
Mm,
and it's a double single with the other song called "David."
mm.
It came out in
Yeah.
2018, and just like last week, the song was produced by Sloam, and Lil Boy helped
Mm,
out as well. But I think it's a typical kind of like good summer hip hop song. It's a good, I would say, a good
mm,
closeout to the summer. It's just a
mm,
really chill vibe, and I don't know. To me, Lil Boy has like this charisma to him. There's just something to me about
mm,
Lil Boy and the way he rides the beat and the way he delivers on the beats. I just think he's just a perfect pairing with Sloam, and I'm
Mm,
just super excited with his new album that's coming out soon, hopefully. But yeah, definitely the song is
mm,
worth your time. It's called Go. I think it's
mm.
truly a good summer song, good intro to not intro, but good arrival to the fall season. So definitely go check out Go by Lil Boy
I'm gonna take a little bit of a different take
for
this
sure.
time. I'm going to recommend an artist that, at the time of this recording, doesn't have anything
Mm-hmm.
out yet. And there's a rapper called Indigo Wade.
I've heard about him.
Um, yeah, and his album is coming out tomorrow, which is Korean Standard Time, September
Okay.
24th. So by the time this episode comes out, probably his studio album will be out. And I think it's called EVP. And he has a series of short EPs
Okay.
before the EVP, which is the studio
Mm-hmm.
album. The EPs were pretty good. He had fresh ideas relating to a little bit of a electronic alternative
For sure.
direction, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
hyped to see where the studio album goes. Like, especially since he's a very underground
Mm-hmm.
artist that has been kind of. I mean, he has several diss tracks against Cho Kwang-il and stuff. So, and he did a great job on
Mm-hmm.
those tracks. And like, he's a seasoned rapper. Like, he really knows how to rap. He really knows how to design his rhymes and stuff like that. And I think it will be a very interesting project. I'm kind of hyped for
Mm-hmm.
it in a sense. Not in a sense. I'm hyped.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So a little bit of a disclaimer. It might suck, I guess, because the album is not exactly out yet, and I don't have no idea
Of
what it will
course,
sound
exactly.
like. But the process leading up to this album kind of made me trust in him in a
Okay.
sense. So by the time this episode is out, it will be out. So go and stream Indigo AIDS EVP. I think it might actually be a kind of surprise for this year.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but please do comment and let us know what you think of today's topics. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please go and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms and please give us that 5-star rating. If you want more K hip hop contents, go check out Daytona's Instagram at myk_Daytona for K hip hop album reviews and also follow our social media page at Seoul_Therapy. Thank you guys so much and see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.